To the channel. Papa Bear here. I just did a quick video on how to do a quick version of a drone turret build. And I'm now propping up to do quick version of the stronger build. So this is not my invention. That's why it's even named H2, because this is a build designed by my buddy H. I play with him all the time. You'll have seen him in some of my Ghost Recon streams. If we ever stream any Division stuff, you'll see him there as well. This build single-handedly just makes every legendary so simple. I can't even begin to tell you. And we can run this build with... We could actually go in with 4 of these builds, and it's really no big deal to go do through any of it. Just to run you through it a little bit, one of the keys to this build is the Empress gear. Because you get skill health, skill damage, and what a lot of people don't understand is skill efficiency is actually several different components of skill benefits versus just a single skill benefit. It gives you multiple different things. It gives you skill haste, gives you some skill damage, status effect, whatever. It gives you all kinds of stuff. So it makes it even a little bit stronger than it was before. So running the 3-piece Empress really makes this build strong, and since we're running Tactician, it already gives us an extra skill tier, which means we can take one of our yellows and make it a blue. So in that case, what we do is we take that blue and we put on one of the Bellstone Armories to give us some extra regen. Now you're going to notice too that nothing on this build is optimized. This is my 3rd or 4th character, so I don't have them all maxed out. I'm not even worried about it. But again, Bellstone Armor is going to give us that armor regen, and then I'm going to put obviously skill damage on there with it. Now you're going to notice this has also got armor regeneration on the gloves. I've put armor regeneration on several of the pieces. That explosive resistance is an accident. Again, it's just because I threw this together. But there's again armor regeneration on the mask with skill damage. And again, the reason is because I don't care that it takes 15 seconds to get my turret back or my 16 seconds to get my drone back. In a battle, it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to cost me anything. What I want more than anything else is I want that base damage. Now the base damage is going to fluctuate on these guys as we look at them because I'm running the waveform holster. And waveform holster is a huge part of damage for this build, but until you get the waveform holster to drop for you, you can use another holster. Doesn't matter what holster you use temporarily, just go out and farm to get that waveform holster, because it does give us the skill damage that we need. In addition to that, that alternating current basically equates to 30% skill damage, and what it does is, you cannot see it as we stand here, but if I go down to the gun range, you'll be able to see it. Let's pull my gun out. You're going to see at the bottom of my screen, you're going to see the kinetic momentum, which looks like little microphones, the first 2. There's one on the left and one on the right, and that's just telling us which one of our skills are building stacks. And then below that, you're going to see some goofy looking arrows. Right now, you're going to see one that's to the left. It's going to last for a while, and then see how the one on the right now is starting to build. So what it did was, right now, the one on the left, which is my turret, has got the most skill damage. Now it's switching over, and now the drone has got the most skill damage. So they're going to fluctuate back and forth as far as for which one is there. That's the benefit of that waveform, is it's going to give you an extra 30% damage for each one of those. So now we've got a waveform that's giving us that damage. We've got this Bellstone Armory piece that's going to give us some armor regen, as well as still giving us skill damage. Just a smidge more armor. Not a lot, but a smidge more armor. And the more armor we have, the more the armor regeneration and armor on kill works, which we've got 3 of these armor on kill mods. But then everything else, I've got skill damage on it wherever I can pretty much get it. Actually, the knee pads, I could put armor regen on there too if I wanted to. But the little bit of skill haste on there doesn't kill me. You notice everything's got skill damage, and where possible, some armor regen. I could very easily take that skill haste and make it some more armor regen to give us some life back on it. Why does that become important? Well, or how well does it work? Let's hurt ourselves a little bit here. Okay. And then these guys are the quickest to get a bunch of them killed, so let's just kill these guys. First of all, my character's already on his own, regenerating some health, but in addition to that, every time we kill one of these guys, you see how that bar comes back up again. So just imagine in the middle of a legendary. I mean, look how quick all that health came back. Obviously, legendaries are not going to die that quick, but it still is going to give you some health back as you go. So that's step one. Step two is the amount of damage. Now you can do this a couple different ways as well. Reset it. So, I'm going to bring up the capacitor here. And just stock. I'm not doing anything. And I'm seeing. Well, notice how the numbers are varying. We're at up to 178 right now. That's because our waveform holster just kicked over to our turret. So when it goes away from the turret, those numbers are going to drop. So you're going to start to see those numbers come down now as we're switching over to the drone. That's why those numbers are going down. And boom, we're full drone now, so the turret's only going to do 160. However, take our gun up to 40 stacks. Now at 40 stacks, we're doing 240 damage. And that's because of the capacitor. Because the capacitor builds a stack up to 40, a cap of 40, grants 1.5% skill damage, and then the skill, they begin to come down. One of the neat things about the capacitor as well, if you haven't used it before, is, I mean, look at it, it's doing 94,000 damage. That's because its damage is boosted based on how many skill tiers I have, and I have 6. But if I wanted to get that boost in damage, I could also just use Insync. And Insync will take us right to 228. Not the same amount of damage, right? 230. Not the same as taking the capacitor all the way up to the top. Capacitor's going to get us 263 per hit. As long as we keep those stacks. But doesn't hurt. So you have a choice of doing it both ways. Let me shut this turn off so it's not making back course. That's the variation of it. We're using one piece of Wyvernware to give us 10% skill damage. We're using the 3-piece of the Empress International to give us skill health, skill damage, and then skill efficiency, which is also kind of a mystery. Nobody knows exactly what it is, but it is a mix of several different skill elements all put together, including skill haste, skill duration. I believe skill damage is mixed in there as well. That's part of what gives us that boost. And then in addition to that, the waveform holster, if you don't have one, again, you can just go farm for it. For now, you could still use really almost anything. Just make sure you've got some skill damage on it and a skill tier when you go to use it. If you're going to replace this waveform, it's got to have skill damage on it and a skill tier. And then the Bellstone Armory to give us a little bit of extra armor, some more armor regen, and then again skill damage. And that gives us back some of our survivability. Now, again, this the Wyvernware, they're interchangeable. Doesn't matter where you put any one of these gold pieces. This Bellstone Armory could be any one of these gold pieces. And the Wyvernware could be any one of these gold pieces. Just depends on where you get the right ones at. But the only difference that you might want to get in here is I use combined arms. I use combined arms on my backpack. You could also use tech support. That's one of your choices. There's several different variations to this, right? So if you use combined arms, then what basically happens is, regardless of what you do with your turret, when it starts shooting this guy, you're gonna see a little symbol at the bottom. That little, it's not using that, so you can see that. There you go. See that little combined arms symbol at the bottom? That's given us our additional amount of damage. So we go from 160 up to 199 because the combined arms is kicking in. Numbers are jumping up. That is a 25% increase for 3 seconds. Every time I shoot a target, I get a boost for 25% for 3 seconds. Now, if I was to use the tech support instead, then every time I get a kill, I get that 25% boost for 20 seconds. So it would give me, technically give me a little bit more survivability. If I was playing solo, it would make it a little bit easier. I just happen to prefer using the combined arms because I like using the capacitor. And I like beefing it up because it's giving me an extra 30% damage. There is a variation to this build as well. Well, I'm sorry, let me just finish here. And that we also are using kinetic momentum, which gives us a stack of 15% skill damage per side when in combat. And that's, you can see that at the bottom of my screen with the little microphone. So whenever we're in combat, it begins to build stacks. So there's a variation though as well. If you don't have a capacitor, or you don't want to use a capacitor, the test subject works just fine for this. It's going to give you text, it's going to give you in sync, so it's going to give you 20% skill damage, but still, so instead of 30, you're going to get the 20. One of the ways that I like to run this though is with that, and then with the Scorpio. No, I don't want to go. Sorry. So if you use a test subject, I don't know why it needs to reload, but we'll reload it. So basically now we're just going to be pretty much using it in sync. Doesn't hurt. The bottom of the screen is just crazy with different talents that are proccing. And our turrets are hitting for like 250. As a reference point on Heroic Solo, let's do this. As an elite, let's just take down a boss, a named boss, and see what happens here. So that's a named boss. Using our turret pretty quickly. One of the things that I like is, I was telling you that I like the Scorpio. The reason I like the Scorpio is you can still get your combined arms. But I don't know if everybody's familiar with this, but one of the keys to the Scorpio shotgun is, and I am spec'd into shotguns by the way, and ARs, but depending on how many times you hit it, 1 shot makes poison, 2 shots is disorient, 3 shots or 6 shots gives you a shock where they're shocked and they're frozen, which is phenomenal. If you get rushed and you're in the middle of a legendary and you just shock them, all of a sudden they hunker down for a minute while they're in the middle of being shocked. And the 7th shot, targets take additional 20% damage from all sources. That's huge, because then all of a sudden we're able to just do a lot more damage to these guys. So if we've got this boss up here, we're going to put our turret up, and that's unloading it. Now he's taking 20% more damage, and he's done. You see all the symbols that are coming up on there as he's going. The first symbol that you're seeing right there, that just means that he's been hit by the gun. That's the poison effect. See a ticket for 26k. So he gets ripped up pretty quick. And in addition to, I mean, it's not like it's a lightweight. It's still hitting for 600,000, and I'm not running any reds, so the gun's still got some kick to it. So again, this is an upgraded build. I didn't come up with it. My buddy H came up with it. I gave him full credit. This is definitely something that we've run through a bunch of, with these different variations, we've run through a number of legendaries, and it just makes it super easy because you've got so much more survivability, and you're able to get stuff, you're able to get back. I mean, even killing a named boss. Just as I sit here, if I damage myself while I'm talking, I can do that. Let's do that. Turn up to help him out. We'll see how much is able to come back, how quickly that health is regenerated. And this is killing bosses. We're killing some of those guys with this. But again, a couple of variations. You don't have to use combined arms. You could use tech support, and that'll let you kind of tuck ass a little bit more, so you don't have to worry about popping out. That's what tech support looks like. So it's, either way, you're getting a 25% damage boost. Kinetic momentum, I really like, because it gives me that stack. You can get more damage if you use glass cannon on there instead of kinetic momentum. But again, I liked a little extra support and like a little extra safetiness. A little bit extra safety that you get when you're using kinetic momentum versus getting the using the glass cannon. I don't have to worry about being the one that goes down. Especially if you're playing with randoms. If I'm going to jump into a legendary in a little bit and run a legendary with some complete randoms, and that will help tremendously. We're getting 10% extra skill damage because we're running the technician specialization, as well as getting an extra skill tier, which is allowing me to run this armor regen build. Which, by the way, take a look at our stats here. And where's that? Armor on kill is 51,000. So every time we kill something, we get 50 grand back. And armor regeneration is 16.9, almost 17. Which, as you've seen, brings us back pretty quickly. So if we get in trouble, we can just tuck for a little bit. As the drones and everything else get there, you're good to go. Probably the safest way to build, let's not throw that. The safest way to build this would be if you were to run with the test subject, since perfectly in sync lasts pretty long. You don't have to sit up there like you would with the capacitor. And if you were to run tech support instead of combined arms, just you'd see a little bit less damage. Let me give you a last little screenshot of everything that's got it here. And again, hopefully this was helpful to somebody. It certainly makes it easier to rip through some of the legendary contents. Just to go over it again, the drone base is going for 77 and 137. Those numbers are going to vary as we go, though, because of the nature of this waveform exotic holster. And the waveform's not that tough to get. Neither is the capacitor. The capacitor is pretty easy. Summit's great for some of this kind of, picking up some of this kind of stuff. Same thing with the Scorpio. I think I got all those pieces out of running Summit missions. But this build also will come in handy if we're trying to bump up these SHD levels, which I'm going to throw another video out that will show you how to do that. But in the meantime, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, I hope that this helps somebody out there. It's definitely helped us and made some of these a little bit easier. And don't get me wrong, too. By the way, for a lot of for some legendaries, I don't run this. I run a True Patriot build. One of 2 or 3 different variations of it, depending on. Actually, I don't have my tartar sauce one on here, but I'll run a True Patriot build to get a little more damage in there for my guys. Everybody's marked up a True Patriot. They get some explosions, plus we get some pestilence bleeds that spread around. It's really nice. Or I'll run a full-blown status build so that I can get everybody burning or bleeding or whatever we happen to be doing while my guys are using their turns and their drones. Depends. If you run a legendary with 2 of these drone builds that I've shown you, a status build, and then a healer, which you don't even really need the healer, but if you run the healer, it gives you an extra 25% damage. You're going to be crushing legendaries like a champ. So again, thanks for tuning in, guys, and hopefully somebody found this helpful. And we'll see you in the next one. If I can figure out how to let's take a picture first before we end the thing.